There are habits you don't even notice, habits that quietly strip away your respect, your dignity, and your emotional power. And the scariest part, you're practicing them without realizing you're losing yourself. Let me take you into a truth most people avoid. Respect isn't lost in explosions. It erodes in whispers. It slips away in those tiny moments when you betray your boundaries, silence your own voice, or shrink to keep the peace. We assume respect disappears because someone attacked us, but far more often, we hand it away piece by piece. And the first habit that quietly destroys your respect is over-explaining yourself. Every time you justify your feelings, your decisions, your needs, your boundaries, again and then again and again, you send a message. My choices are negotiable. My worth needs permission. That message doesn't just go to them. It goes to you. It becomes a belief, a narrative, a silent self-sabotage that whispers, your voice is not enough. But here's the deeper layer. You over-explain because you fear being seen as selfish, difficult, or ungrateful. Somewhere along the way, you learn that being understood is safer than being firm. So you cushion your words, you soften your truths, you wrap your boundaries in long paragraphs, hoping people won't get upset. Yet every explanation chips at your authority. Every justification weakens your presence. Every extra sentence teaches others that you're now comes with a back door. Respect doesn't grow from being understood. Respect grows from being clear. And sometimes clarity sounds like this. I chose this. I'm not available. I'm not explaining it again. When you stop over-explaining, people may resist, but your self-respect, it rises. The second habit that quietly destroys your respect is breaking your own boundaries to keep others comfortable. You don't announce it. You don't make a scene. You don't even name it. You just bend. You bend a little here, bend a little there. You bend until bending becomes your identity, and people notice. They always notice when you say, it's okay, even when it's not. When you agree to things you resent, when you stay silent to avoid conflict, you teach the world that your needs are optional. But the real harm isn't what others learn about you. It's what you teach yourself. Every time you swallow your discomfort, you send your nervous system a message. Your truth is too messy, too loud, too inconvenient. And so you shrink your voice, shrink your anger, shrink your desires, until even while you start forgetting what you wanted in the first place, it's a quiet, painful erosion, a slow dissolving of identity. Respect dies in those tiny moments where you convince yourself it's not a big deal. I'll let it go just this once. I don't want drama. But those just this once moments become a pattern. That pattern becomes a reputation. And that reputation becomes your emotional cage. True respect isn't earned from perfection. It's earned from consistency, from standing on the same ground even when someone tries to pull you off it. A boundary is not a wall, it's a promise. And the moment you break that promise, people stop believing in your strength, and you stop believing in it too. The third habit that quietly destroys your respect is pretending you're okay when you're breaking inside. This one is subtle, almost invisible. You smile when you're exhausted. You say, I'm fine when you're hurting. You act strong when your soul is trembling. And at first, it feels noble, like you're protecting others from your storms. But pretending becomes a prison. When you hide your real emotions, people learn to treat you like someone who doesn't need support, someone who doesn't require care, someone who has everything under control. They stop checking in. They stop asking real questions. They stop offering help because you've built a reputation of emotional invincibility. And while the world applauds your strength, inside you feel unseen, unheard, untouched. Here's the truth we rarely admit. Every time you fake your emotional state, you disconnect from your own humanity. You numb your needs. You silence your heart. You make your pain small enough for others to ignore until it becomes big enough to swallow you. People don't respect facades. They respect authenticity. When you pretend to be fine, you're teaching others to step over your feelings. But more tragically, you're teaching yourself that vulnerability is a threat, not a gateway. And over time, the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be becomes unbearable. Real strength isn't silent. Real strength says, I'm hurting, but I'm here. Real strength allows truth to breathe. Because the moment you stop pretending, the moment you let your real emotions exist, your self-respect rises like something you thought you had lost. The fourth habit that quietly destroys your respect is laughing along when someone disrespects you. This one feels harmless on the surface. A joke here, a jab there, a subtle insult wrapped in, I'm just kidding. You laugh because you don't want to look sensitive. You smile because you don't want to make it awkward. You pretend it doesn't hurt, even though it does. But here's the truth. Every time you laugh at your own disrespect, you tell the world, you can cross my boundaries without consequences. People treat your reaction as the standard. If you laugh, they repeat the behavior. If you brush it off, they push further next time, not because they're always cruel, but because you've unintentionally given them permission. And the worst part, that fake laugh becomes part of your identity. People begin to see you as someone who can be teased, talked over, dismissed, or minimized because you've trained them to believe you're unaffected. But deep down, that silent sting grows. It grows into resentment. It grows into self-doubt. It grows into a painful question. Why do they think they can talk to me like this? Because you laughed. Because you swallowed your truth. Because you chose peace over self-respect. Real respect begins with discomfort. The discomfort of saying, that's not funny to me. I don't like that. Don't speak to me like that again. Not angry, not explosive, just clear. And that clarity shifts everything. People start to treat you according to the standard you set, not the one you silently endure. The fifth habit that quietly destroys your respect is apologizing for things that don't require an apology. You say sorry when someone bumps into you. You say sorry for asking a question. You say sorry for taking up space, for needing time, for speaking up, for simply existing in the room. But here's the truth most people never confront. Every unnecessary apology is a tiny surrender of power. When sorry becomes your default language, people begin to see you as someone who's always at fault. Even when you're not, they start expecting you to take responsibility for their mistakes, their inconvenience, their emotions. Without realizing it, you carry emotional weight that doesn't belong to you. And with each misplaced apology, you shrink yourself a little more. You're not apologizing out of kindness. You're apologizing out of fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of seeming confident. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being too much. But here's the paradox. The more you apologize, the less people respect your presence. Sorry becomes noise. Your words lose weight. Your confidence becomes diluted. There are moments when sorry is powerful, when it's connected to accountability, compassion, and truth. But when it becomes reflexive, it becomes self-erasure. Replace I'm sorry with thank you for your patience. I appreciate your understanding. I need a moment. I can't do that. These aren't apologies. They're boundaries dressed in clarity. When you stop apologizing for existing, something remarkable happens. People start hearing your voice instead of your fear. The sixth habit that quietly destroys your respect is seeking approval before making your own decisions. This is one of the most subtle forms of self-betrayal because it doesn't look like weakness. It looks like politeness, like being thoughtful, like just wanting everyone to be okay. But beneath that surface is something painful, a deep belief that your judgment isn't enough unless someone else validates it. You ask, do you think it's a good idea? Should I do this? Is this okay with you not because you're unsure, but because you're afraid of standing alone in your choice? And people pick up on that. When you constantly check for approval, they begin to view you as someone who needs direction, someone who needs reassurance, someone who can be guided or pushed. Your independence becomes blurry. Your decisions lose their backbone. Your confidence becomes dependent on the reactions of others. Approval seeking is a quiet thief. It steals your authority. It steals your voice. It steals the dignity that comes from trusting yourself. And the saddest part, you already know what you want most of the time. You already know what decision feels right. You already feel the truth in your gut, but you pause, waiting for someone else to confirm it. Respect grows when you stand by your choices, not when you crowdsource them. You don't need permission to live your own life. You don't need validation to trust your intuition. You don't need an audience to act with certainty. The moment you stop asking, the moment you start choosing, your presence shifts, your confidence strengthens, and people feel the difference immediately. The seventh habit that quietly destroys your respect is speaking badly about yourself, even as a joke. You call yourself stupid, lazy, a mess, not enough, and you think it's harmless humor. You think it makes people comfortable. You think it makes you relatable. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. The world believes the story you tell about yourself. When you tear yourself down, playfully or not, people stop seeing you as confident. They stop seeing you as grounded. They stop seeing you as someone who values their own identity. Your words become the lens through which they view you. Self-deprecating humor may feel safe, but it quietly trains others to lower their expectations of how you should be treated. You may say things like, "I'm so dumb sometimes. I can never get anything right. I'm just not that important." But these aren't jokes. They are confessions disguised as comedy. And every time you say them, you reinforce an identity that doesn't honor you. Here's the painful part. People start repeating your language back to you. They joke the way you joke. They treat you according to the version of yourself you presented. Respect begins with self-respect. How you speak about yourself teaches others how to speak about you. Shift the language, shift the narrative, shift the energy around your own name. Try saying, "I'm learning, growing, I'm figuring it out. I'm stronger than before." These aren't affirmations. They're boundaries of identity. Because when you stop insulting yourself, even playfully, something powerful happens. Your presence becomes heavier. Your voice becomes firmer, and the room begins to treat you with the gravity you finally give yourself. The eighth habit that quietly destroys your respect is allowing chaos to control your life. Not big, dramatic chaos, the silent chaos, the clutter you ignore, the commitments you forget, the messages you never answer, the promises you break to yourself because you'll get to it later. People think respect is only about personality or confidence, but it's also built on consistency. If your life looks scattered, disorganized, or unpredictable, people begin to assume they can treat you the same way, loosely, casually, without care. They stop taking your time seriously because you don't take your own time seriously. But here's the part that hurts the most. It's not the external chaos that lowers your respect. It's the internal message you send to yourself. Every pile you ignore, every plan you abandon, every task you leave half, done whispers the same quiet sentence in your mind: your life isn't worth organizing. And when you start believing that, your standards slowly collapse. You stay around people who drain you. You say yes to responsibilities you hate. You tolerate situations that exhaust your soul because the chaos outside begins to look just like the chaos inside. Respect rises when your life begins to reflect your worth, not perfection, but order, clarity, stability, a sense of direction. Even if you're moving slowly, you don't need a flawless routine. You need small, intentional acts that say, "I'm someone who deserves structure." Because when your environment supports your identity, people stop walking over your time, your space, and your energy. You become someone whose presence feels grounded, certain, organized, and that creates an aura people can't ignore. The ninth habit that quietly destroys your respect is staying in conversations, relationships, and rooms where you are clearly not valued. You don't leave because you're weak. You stay because you're hopeful. You stay because you want to be understood. You stay because you believe that with enough patience, kindness, or effort, people will finally see your worth. But here's the truth most people never speak aloud. Every minute you stay where you are dismissed, you teach others their right to dismiss you. When someone talks over you and you keep listening, when someone ignores your feelings and you keep giving, when someone minimizes your experiences and you keep explaining, you send a silent message: I will tolerate this, I will adjust, I will shrink to fit your comfort. Respect evaporates the moment you stop requiring it. The world mirrors your standards. If your standard is to endure disrespect, that's exactly what you'll receive. And the more you stay in these spaces, the more you disconnect from your own intuition, the part of you that whispers, you deserve more than this. You know that whisper? It shows up as exhaustion, as frustration, as numbness, as a quiet ache in your chest when someone talks to you like you're invisible. Walking away isn't dramatic. Walking away isn't cruel. Walking away isn't giving up. Walking away is self-respect in motion. It's your soul saying, I won't fight to be seen in places that refuse to look. I won't lower myself to be understood. I won't stay where my presence is a convenience, not a value. The moment you stop staying, you stop losing yourself. The 10th and final habit that quietly destroys your respect is ignoring your own growth while criticizing others. You've felt it, the temptation to point out what others are doing wrong, to measure yourself against them, to elevate your sense of worth by diminishing theirs. At first, it feels harmless, even justified. Maybe it's a friend, a coworker, or a partner. Maybe it's someone you see as less successful, less aware, less or lightened than you. But respect, both from others and from yourself, does not grow from judgment. It grows from accountability. It grows from self-awareness. It grows from curiosity, humility, and courage. Every time you criticize someone while ignoring the work you need to do, you quietly teach the world that your words are louder than your integrity. You show that your attention is external, that your energy is pointed outward, not inward. And people notice. When your focus is on someone else's flaws instead of your own growth, you erode your credibility. You erode your authority. You erode the magnetic weight of your presence. People see the imbalance. They see the hypocrisy. They see a voice with no foundation. True respect is earned by the alignment of words and actions. It is built by owning your habits, facing your fears, and nurturing your inner world. It's strengthened when you choose courage over comfort, self-awareness over judgment, authenticity over image. So here's the truth you must carry: respect is not a gift given by others. It's a reflection of how fiercely you honor yourself. Stop over-explaining. Stop breaking your boundaries. Stop hiding your truth. Stop tolerating disrespect. Stop shrinking. And in that moment when your life, your words, and your actions align, you'll not only reclaim the respect you've been losing, you'll become impossible to ignore.